A very good day, I bid to the lecturer. Today we will be presenting our group project entitled Proposal to Build Green Office Building with Green Infrastructure. We are from Group 23 and the group members are Arif Firdaus, Nurul Alia, and me, Moses Agan. So first, let me introduce what our project is about. So since the government and the non-government organizations have developed several initiatives related to green development, including a green township. So basically, this project is to develop a green township that consists of green buildings and green infrastructure. And our company is tasked for establishing a new project to construct a township with green buildings and infrastructure in which the company can invest as well as advising management on the project's expenses and finances. So, uh, the method we use for the calculation approach including weighted average cost of capital WACC, life cycle cost LCC, work breakdown structure WBS, and cash flow diagram. Furthermore, the capital asset pricing model CAPM is also used to apply the weighted average cost of capital to both the equity and debt, and the dividends are paid to equity holders. So hence, the anticipated to this project is anticipated to cost around 3 million ringgit, which is using the method of equity or loan financing. Next, let me discuss on the project information. So our project title, as we can see, it is to propose to build a township that consists of green office building and green infrastructure, which is located at Bandar University Pago. So the total area of the site will be approximately around 2,000 square feet, and the total construction cost is calculated to be 2,842,430 ringgit and 30 cents. So the contract duration will be 3 years, and the general liability insurance will be using public bank, and the coverage is by percentage until the project is completed. So our debt and equity will be RM 1.5 million respectively.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Arif Firdaus bin Bakari, and today I want to present about our project. My part, which is concept of building and infrastructure. Okay, first of all, this is our design of our green office building, and there are solar panel on top of the building and some of green landscape, and in addition we also design the fence of our building is made of green plant. Okay, next we have work breakdown structure WBS. So I will introduce you a little bit about this work breakdown structure. First is the most crucial element of the project management deliverable, known as the work breakdown structure WBS. This project WBS is typically used to divide a project into a big size, readily controllable component. And in this crucial step, the project working become easily comprehensible, and the plan framework simply to implement. The project management body of knowledge is characterized by a hierarchical breakdown of the overall scope of work. This will be determine the scope of work to be performed by the project team in order to achieve the project objective and provide the necessary development. Okay, next, this is our WBS for the green office building. First, project planning, we have design, permitting and others. Second, substructure, we have excavation, earthwork, foundation work, basement and others. And next we have superstructure. Under the superstructure, we have frames, first floor, upper floors, roof, stairs and others. For building, we divide into two, which is installation and services. Under the installation, we have window wall, LED ceiling lamp, RS Pro 100 wall monocrystalline solar and others. For the services, we have plumbing, electrical, communication installation and sanitary appliance. Next, we move to the finishing part, which we have painting and some other works. And next, we have the infrastructure. Under the infrastructure, we have green roofing, green wall fence and others. Lastly, for the closed project, we have some others work like finishing touch-up.
Okay, so for the estimation of cost, we have estimated the cost of the whole project. So for number one is for the project planning. So the total cost of the project planning will be 304,040 ringgit. For the substructure, it will be 272,000. For the superstructure, it will be 1,246,571 ringgit and 30 cents. For the building, it will be 139,396 and for the infrastructure, the total cost will be 740,000. And for the closing of the project, the total cost will be 88,123 ringgit. So the cost estimated for the whole project will be 3 million ringgit. Now for the cost analysis, we have three, which is the preliminary, design and the construction cost. For the preliminary cost, we is about 13% of the whole total construction cost. So we get RM 369,515 ringgit and 94 cents. So for the design cost is about 9.3% of the total construction cost, which is 264,346 ringgit and 2 cents. As for the construction cost, it is 2,842,430 ringgit and 30.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Alia binti Rostam Effendi and I will explain about cash flows. Before performing cash flow analysis, contractors must first complete several prerequisites such as quantity take-off, scheduling, and cost estimates. This is followed by detailed assessments of project expenses and chargeable progress made. As a result, cash flow analysis has become a time-consuming and uncertain process. Compound interest allows us to combine and compare payments that occur over time. Next is topic 3.1, cash flow diagram. Here is the example of cash flow diagram. The cash flow diagram depicts all cash inflow and outflow as a horizontal timeline, which is used to visualize as financial problem. Using arrows on a timeline scale to the amount of cash flow, costs and receipts are depicted in relation to each other. The interest periods can be week, a month, or a year. In order to simplify computations, all cash flows are treated as occurring at the end of the interest period, regardless of when they occur during the interest period. Following that, 3.2 Preparation of cash flows. Financials analysis can be done quickly and without requiring the operator to be an expert in the field thanks to today's high-tech portable calculators and personal computer spreadsheets. To be able to create a cash flow diagram, one needs to have a solid understanding of the current financial situation of the project or problem at hand. All of the costs and benefits associated with the project, as well as the dates on which they occur, should be accurately depicted in the cash flow diagram. Any costs incurred prior to the zero time point of the analysis are referred to as a sunk cost and are not included in the evaluation. A non-profitable activity should not be continued simply because funds have been expended up to this point. The interest rate is assumed to remain constant for the duration of the project or the operation of the system under consideration. Next is cash flow diagram of the project construction. This is our cash flow diagram. Calculation for inflows. The initial cost plus bank loan per half year equal to 3,375,000 ringgit. Next is the initial cost plus profit equal to 3,325,000 ringgit. And lastly is the calculation for the outflows. The actual cost divided by 4 equal to 710,600 ringgit.
Now for the life cycle cost, so the project cost, as we all know, is 2,842,430 ringgit and 30 cents. For the utility cost is estimated to be 500,000. For the maintenance cost is 30,000. For the service cost is 24,000, and for the system replacement cost is estimated to be 24,000. So this is the formula for the LCC for the life cycle cost. And then from the formula, we substitute the value and we can get the LCC to be 3,420,430 ringgit and 30 cents. And here we can see the life cycle cost of the green office building, which is illustrated in the pie chart. So as we can see, this is the green office building is said to be 30 years of life cycle, and the initial cost is 58%, and the utilities is 28%, maintenance 6%, service 4%, and the system replacement is 4%.
Next topic is aspect of life cycle costing. When implementing LCC in other company, there were only few factors that needed to be taken into consideration. These aspects are necessary in order to ensure that the LCC was carried out in an extremely thorough and efficient manner. Product costs and the incorporation of all upstream and downstream costs are the two primary aspects that require additional consideration. These two aspects are essential for ensuring that LCC provides assistance in selecting the most appropriate alternative to be applied when calculating the total amount of money that a business or an individual will spend on an asset over the course of its productive life. Product life cycle (PLC) may be classified into three broad stages, namely 1. Planning and design, 2. Manufacturing and sales, and 3. Service and abandonment. Next is characteristic of LCC. 1. Product life cycle costing involves tracing costs and revenues of a product over several calendar periods throughout its life cycle. Second, product life cycle costing traces research and design and development costs and the total magnitude of this cost for each product compared with product revenue. 3. Each phase of the product life cycle poses different threats and opportunities that may require different strategic action. And last, your product life cycle may be extended by finding new users or increasing the present user's consumption. Next is costs committed and costs incurred. Committed costs are the costs that have not yet been incurred but will be incurred in the future as a result of a decision that has already been made. These costs are known as costs that have not yet been committed. The charge that must be paid whenever a resource is depleted or put to another use. The actual cost of a product is primarily determined during the growth stage and the mature stage of the product's life cycle.
Okay, next we have the advantages of the LCC. Okay, everything made of today has both advantages and disadvantages. LCC has both advantages and disadvantages. The benefit include better predicting. LCC approach enable for more accurate estimation of procurement overall expenses. LCC also provide management with a better understanding of the element that influence the cost and the resources required by the purchase, and LCC also known as trade-off between expenses and performance. As well as considering price, LCC takes into account other aspects such as the product's quality and level of services. Next, we have disadvantages of its LCC. First, LCC takes too long to do a life cycle costing study because of new technologies. Next, LCC also costly. More running costs will be spent with an extended project life. The ever-changing nature of technology also is one of the weakness of this LCC. Okay, next, which is what is the implication of the life cycle cost. Okay, life cycle cost give input for pricing over the life cycle when seen from the perspective of customer life cycle cost. Using LCC, managers may better grasp the financial implication of product development and production, as well as areas where cutting costs is most likely to be successful. Using LCC as an input can help with the procedure like valuation, economic assessment and financial assessment. If a product's profit margin are to be maximized, effective time management is essential. Next, with LCC give a long-term picture of product profitability, feedback on the efficiency of original planning, and cost data to better understanding the economic impact of alternative like design. A strategy to better manage production expenses was also examined by the committee. Overall, there are prospects for both expense reduction and minimization, as well as revenue growth.
The next topic is debt. Debt is an amount of money borrowed by one party from another. The party that is doing the borrowing is granted permission by a debt arrangement to do so, with the understanding that the money will be paid back at a later date, typically with interest. Loans such as mortgage and auto loans, personal loans, and credit card debt are the most common form of debt. The borrower is obligated to repay the entirety of the loan by a certain date, which is typically some number of years in the future, according to the term of the loan. The amount of interest that the borrower is required to pay each year is also specified in the term of the loan. The purpose of interest is twofold. First, it ensures that the lender is compensated for taking on the risk of the loan, and second, it encourages the borrower to pay back the loan as quickly as possible in order to minimize the amount of interest he will end up paying overall. Type of debt. First is secured debt. The lender will run a credit check on the borrower to determine how responsibly debt was managed in the borrower's past, but the asset will be pledged to the lender in the event that the borrower is unable to repay the loan. If the loan is not repaid, the lender has the right to take possession of the assets as compensation for the loss. Next is unsecured debt. When a lender grants a loan without collateral, he or she relies solely on the borrower's ability and works to repay the loan. A contractual agreement binds the borrowers to repay the funds, and if there is a default, the lender may file suit to recover any money owed. Credit card, signature loans, gym membership contracts, and medical bills are the example of the unsecured debt. Third is revolving debt. It is an agreement between a lender and consumer that allows the consumer to repeatedly borrow up to a predetermined limit. The payment amounts for revolving debt vary based on the total loan balance. Revolving debt can be secure, like a home equity line of credit, or unsecure, like a credit card. And last is mortgage. Mortgages are the most prevalent and significant form of consumer debt. A mortgage has the lowest interest rate of any consumer loan product, and the interest is frequently tax deductible for individuals who itemize their taxes. And the most common mortgage loans terms are 15 to 30 years in order to keep monthly payments affordable for homeowners.
Next, we have equity. What is equity? Equity is the ownership of asset that may be accompanied with debt and other responsibilities. For accounting purpose, equity is determined by deducting liability from the value of an asset. Equity can be used to a single item, such as a vehicle or a home or the whole firm. A firm that needs capital to launch or extend its operation might sell its stocks to borrow money without a repayment term. Investor in a newly founded company must provide an initial amount of cash for the company to begin conducting business. This number of symbolize the investor's ownership stake in the company. Next, we have 5.21 advantages of equity. First, the advantage of this equity is less stress. With equity financing, no debt must be repaid. It is not necessary for the firm to make a monthly loan payment, which is particularly advantageous if it does not initially create a profit. This allows the owner to option to invest more money in the expenses of the firm. Next, we have no more credit concern. Assume that the owner lacks credit-worthiness due to a bad credit history or absence of financial track record. Equity finance may be more desirable or acceptable than debt financing. Next, we have equity partners provide opportunity to learn and advance. With equity finance, the owner may be develop informal partnership with those who are more informed or skilled. Some may be well connected, allowing owner businesses to possibly profit from their expertise and business network. Okay, next, which is disadvantages of equity, when it has a pro and it also may have a cons. Firstly, for the disadvantages of using equity, which is profit should be shared. The investor are entitled to portion of their earning. However, the trade-off might be advantageous if the owner is able to profit from the investor financial backing and commercial acumen. Next, we have lack of command. The price to be paid for the equity financing and its potential benefit is that the owner must share business control. Lastly, for the disadvantages of equity is potential conflict if there are differences in vision, management style, and method of conducting company. Sharing ownership and collaborating with others may be result in stress or even conflict. It can be a matter requiring considerable consideration.
Next, we calculate the project finance analysis, and here is the total cost estimation for the whole project, and then it is divided into the debt and equity. For our debt, we got 1.5 million, and also the equity also we got 1.5 million. And for the calculation of the debt, here we have the bank interest, and then here is the total construction duration, and then we substitute the value into the equation, and we can get the debt, which is 2.3%. Next is the calculation of equity by using the capital asset pricing model, or known as CAPM. Here we can see the formula of the CAPM, and then from here the calculation, by using the formula we substitute the value of the project. So the value of the risk-free rate is assumed to be 4%, and for the correlation with the market is assumed to be 3%, and the rest is inserted into the substitute into the formula, and we can get 22% for the CAPM. And now for the calculation of WACC, here we have the formula of WACC, which consists of cost of equity, cost of debt, market value of company equity, market value of company debt, and the corporate tax rate. And for the calculation, we will insert everything in a table so that it will be organized. So for the equity, we have 1.5 million, and for the same for debt, we have 1.5 million. And the cost of equity is already calculated, which is 22%, and the cost of debt is also calculated to be 2%, and the tax rate is assumed to be 8%. So from the formula, we substitute the value into the formula, and then we can get the WACC is 4%. And for the last part, we will calculate the profit of the project. For that, we have 1.5 million, which is 50%, and the interest of bank we have 5%. So the debt will be times with 5%, and then we can get 75,000 ringgit per year. And the value which is needed to pay the bank per year is calculated by adding the debt with the interest of bank, which is we can get 1,575,000, and the selling price of the building is estimated to be 3.4 million ringgit, and the profit value we can get by subtracting the selling price of the building with the debt, and also the value which is needed to pay the bank per year. So the profit we get